You've heard the victories, now meet the nightmares behind them. Match fixing and rigged results nobody saw coming. You think tennis is polished white lines, quiet crowds, fair play? Think again. Here's how hidden corruption shook the sport. Match fixing in tennis isn't a myth, it's real, and it's deep. The turning point came in 2003 when the Sunday Telegraph exposed ongoing match fixing in men's tournaments, leading to the establishment of the Tennis Integrity Unit (TIU) in 2008 to guard against corruption. Still, the corruption machine kept churning. In 2011, Austrian Daniel Koellerer became the first tennis player banned for life after being found guilty of multiple match-fixing offenses, attempting to manipulate match outcomes between 2009 and 2010. He challenged the ruling, but the Court of Arbitration for Sport upheld the life ban. Fast forward to 2023, and tennis confronted its darkest moment yet. The Washington Post unearthed a match-fixing empire headed by a man known as the Maestro, real name Grigor Sargsyan, who infiltrated the lower tiers of pro tennis, recruiting over 180 players from 30-plus countries. Players in futures tournaments, earning as little as $2,000 for winners, proved easy targets. That web of corruption brought down sanctions. 41 individuals punished in 2023, 9 with lifetime bans, and 16 linked directly to Sargsyan's network. Not even Grand Slams were spared in 2023. The ITIA reported 101 match-fixing alerts, although none at Grand Slams or Tier 500 divided by 1,000 events. New sanctions followed. 6 players were handed bans for historic corruption tied to that ring, while 5 French players admitted to match-fixing in 2017-18 and accepted penalties without hearings. Even small-scale incidents made headlines. Aaron Cortez, a low-ranked Spaniard, was banned for 15 years after admitting to 35 corruption charges, including illegal betting and bribing tournament officials for wildcards. Corruption in tennis is no longer fringe gossip. It's a systemic issue stretching from futures dust bowls to elite tours powered by syndicates, broken players, and millions in online gambling markets. The TIU is gone. Now the International Tennis Integrity Agency, ITIA, fights back. This isn't just a scandal, it's a wake-up call. Next, we'll explore another ugly truth: how doping scandals shattered stars and trust in tennis. The doping scandals that rocked the game. Buckle up, tennis may look clean at first glance, but beneath that pristine surface lies a trail of controversy, broken careers, and big stars brought low by performance-enhancing substances. Maria Sharapova was the first global superstar to fall hard. In March 2016, she tested positive for meldonium, a heart medication that was added to WADA's banned list on the 1st of January that year. She insisted she honestly didn't realize it had become illegal. Still, she was slapped with a 2-year suspension, later reduced to 15 months by the Court of Arbitration for Sport due to her no significant fault. Her sponsors like Nike and Tag Heuer dropped her, and the headlines questioned whether fame afforded her special treatment. Then there's Simona Halep. During the 2022 US Open, she tested positive for roxadustat, a substance meant for anemia that boosts blood. Her athlete biological passport also showed anomalies. The ITIA initially handed her a harsh 4-year ban. However, the Court of Arbitration for Sport reduced it to just 9 months in March 2024, citing contaminated supplements and no significant fault. Top-tier players don't always get equal treatment. World number 2. IGA Swiatek received just a 1-month ban for trimetazidine, while Simona Halep's harsher treatment has made many question fairness. Serena Williams even expressed disbelief, saying she'd been put down so much that a similar misstep wouldn't earn her such leniency. And don't forget Jannik Sinner, who accepted a 3-month ban after testing positive for clostebol, allegedly from his physiotherapist's cream. He was allowed to compete in Grand Slams despite the ban, sparking widespread debate about whether elite players get tiptoed around more than others. Finally, look back at history. Andre Agassi admitted in his autobiography to using crystal meth in 1997 and lying to hide it. Richard Gasquet tested positive for cocaine in 2009 but claimed it was accidental, the cocaine kiss. His ban was just 6 weeks after appeal. Mariano Puerta was disqualified after reaching the 2005 French Open final due to doping, initially banned for 8 years, later reduced to 2. When tennis bright lights meet doping drama, the fallout is never small. It's about broken trust, flawed systems, and the stakes of scandal shining brighter than any trophy. Racism, sexism, and tennis's ugly side nobody wants to talk about. Think tennis is just sports clothes and polite applause? Let me show you how the game's darker echoes still ripple through it. Let's start with one of the sports legends gone wrong, Ilie Nastase. In 2017, while serving as Romania's Fed Cup captain, he casually remarked of Serena Williams' unborn child, "chocolate with milk?" implying racial insensitivity about the child's mixed heritage. Serena responded sharply, calling it both racist and sexist, and condemned the comment on Instagram with Maya Angelou's "Still I Rise" as her armor. Nastase was suspended by the ITF, though his ban was later reduced and his fine doubled. And the sexism doesn't stay quiet. In the 2018 US Open final, Serena Williams was penalized for coaching violations, racket abuse, and verbal outbursts, receiving $17,000 in fines. She struck back, arguing that male players rarely received similar punishment even when offenses were more severe. Billie Jean King, Victoria Azarenka, and others rallied behind her, reigniting debates over gender bias in officiating. Then there's the heartbreaking saga of Taylor Townsend. At just 16 and world number 1-inch juniors, she was told by USTA officials that her body wasn't fit enough for pro tennis under the guise of long-term health concerns. She nearly missed the US Open. Instead of giving up, she self-funded her trip, advanced to the juniors quarterfinals, and later became world number 1-inch doubles with multiple Grand Slam titles. Her resilience turned a harmful experience into advocacy for authenticity and self-love. These examples aren't rare. Racism and sexism still haunt the game. Layer in other incidents like Illy's earlier misconduct threatening a near-riot crowd at the 1979 US Open, or locker room tensions involving remarks towards Serena, and you realize these issues are far from history. Tennis wears a polished mask, but under it are battles with prejudice and unequal rules. The grace we see on court shouldn't mask the push needed to build real equality. Up next, why are players still finishing matches at 4 a.m.? You might think 4 a.m. is when daytime television reruns are on, but in tennis, it's sometimes when matches actually wrap up. Take the Mexican Open 2022, where a match wrapped at an unbelievable 4:55 a.m., the latest finish ever recorded. Even Grand Slams aren't immune. The French Open once ended a match at 3:07 a.m., and at the 2022 US Open, Carlos Alcaraz edged Jannik Sinner at 2:50 a.m. after a 5-hour epic. It's not just grandstanding, it's conditions. At the 2025 US Open, Tommy Paul and Nuno Borges battled through 4 hours and 45 minutes, ending at 1:46 a.m. to a nearly empty Arthur Ashe Stadium. Fans, players, and even Night Owl celebrity attendees had long gone. Health experts are raising red flags. The Professional Tennis Players Association warns these late-night marathons increase the risk of injury by 20–25%, while Dr. Robbie Sicca, the PTPA's medical director, finds no other sport where athletes compete past 11 p.m. or sometimes beyond 3 or 4 inches the morning. Some examples: at the Australian Open, Medvedev once didn't finish until 3:39 a.m., and players noted how unfair and unhealthy this was. Most sports don't let athletes compete at those hours. Despite this, attempts to fix the situation keep failing. In 2024, the US Open experimented with a late finishing match policy to shift late matches off big courts. The ATP and WTA issued new guidelines restricting late starts. Night sessions shouldn't begin after 11 p.m., and matches starting after 10:30 p.m. should move courts. But slams like Wimbledon, French Open, and the US Open aren't bound by these rules. Meanwhile, players like Aryna Sabalenka have been vocal. "I hate playing the second match after 7 p.m., especially when the first serves is late," she laments. Recovery, media duties, sleep all get knocked off balance. In short, tennis hasn't caught up. It sells all-night vibes, but its athletes pay the price. It's past time the sport prioritized player health over primetime drama. Women play 3 sets, men play 5, but why is it still this way? Ever sat through a 5-set thriller at Wimbledon or the US Open and wondered why don't women ever get the same stage for marathon matches? The truth is, this divide is older than most fans realize. From the very start of the modern Grand Slams, men were assigned best of 5, while women stuck to best of 3. The reasoning wasn't scientific, it was cultural. Early tennis officials assumed women couldn't physically endure 5 sets, a notion built on Victorian-era ideas about fragile female bodies. Yet, decades later, that tradition still shapes the sport. Critics argue it's an outdated double standard. Modern female athletes routinely prove their stamina. Think of Diana Nyad, who in 2013 swam from Cuba to Florida, 110 miles, 53 hours, no shark cage. She wrote in the Washington Post that women could easily handle 5 sets, even calling for Grand Slam quarterfinals onward to be extended. And many players agree. At Wimbledon 2025, rising American Emma Navarro said she'd love women's matches to stretch longer, pointing to the epic Jannik Sinner versus Carlos Alcaraz 5-hour clash as the kind of drama women also deserve. More sets, she argued, could create legendary matches that stick in fans' memories. But not everyone is on board. World number 2. Aryna Sabalenka has voiced concerns about the toll on players' bodies, warning that added sets could spike injuries. Jessica Pegula chimed in with another angle attention spans. She questioned whether today's audiences, already glued to short-form highlights, would stick with a 5-hour women's final. Behind the scenes, tournament directors face scheduling headaches. A Times op-ed pointed out how women's matches often get tucked into afternoon slots while men headline at night, largely because men's matches are longer. That creates a vicious cycle. Shorter matches equal less airtime, which equals less exposure. Ironically, making women's matches 5 sets might be the very fix that gives them primetime billing. So why hasn't it changed? Tradition, money, and fear of disruption. But the pressure is building. Players are speaking up, fans are asking questions, and broadcasters can't ignore the demand for equality forever. Here's the bottom line. The 3 versus 5 debate isn't about biology anymore, it's about respect, opportunity, and the chance for women to create their own marathon classics. And the louder this conversation gets, the harder it'll be for tennis to keep serving the same old setup. US Open tried to censor fans, and it backfired big time. You wouldn't expect a tennis final to feel like a political rally, but the 2025 US Open Men's Singles Championship had all the ingredients, and at the center of it, none other than Donald Trump. This wasn't the first time Trump clashed with tennis crowds. Back in 2015, he was loudly booed at the tournament, sparking headlines across the world. So when news broke that he'd attend the 2025 final, the USTA braced for fireworks. Behind the scenes, they sent a quiet but extraordinary memo to broadcasters. The request? Don't show or even acknowledge fan reactions when Trump appeared. The directive even extended to the national anthem. We ask all broadcasters to refrain from showcasing any disruptions or reactions in response to the president's attendance in any capacity. But live sport is unpredictable. When Trump entered Arthur Ashe Stadium around 1:40 p.m., the crowd erupted some cheers, but mostly a wave of boos echoing through the cavernous 23,000-seat arena. Yet for viewers at home, the feed seemed eerily calm. The atmosphere had been muted, the cameras cutting away as if nothing happened. Not every broadcaster obeyed. ESPN insiders revealed they had no intention of sanitizing the moment. Their plan? Treat the match as normal, acknowledge Trump's presence, capture the raw fan reaction, and then pivot back to tennis. And that's exactly what they did. The contrast between ESPN's coverage and the USTA's attempted censorship was impossible to miss. The backlash came fast. The Guardian blasted the USTA's memo as cowardly, hypocritical, and un-American, noting that New York crowds are famous for their unfiltered energy. Suppressing that spirit, critics argued, betrayed the very essence of the US Open. Meanwhile, security concerns only heightened the tension. Fans complained of 30-minute delays at the gates due to tightened screening around Trump's arrival. Instead of building anticipation, the final began under a cloud of frustration, with empty seats still filling as play started. In the end, the USTA's attempt to control the story backfired spectacularly. By trying to silence the crowd, they amplified the controversy. What was supposed to be Trump's quiet cameo became a global talking point. Ironically, the censored boos echoed louder online than they ever could inside the stadium. And just when you think tennis couldn't get more tone-deaf, the next story takes it up a notch. USTA told her she was too fat to play tennis seriously. Imagine being the world's top junior female player, number 1 inch the ITF rankings, and being told you're not fit enough to compete. That's exactly what happened to Taylor Townsend. In 2012, at age 16, Townsend was denied a wild card into the USTA's US Open Junior event and told she wasn't fit enough, despite her top ranking. The USTA claimed it was a health-based decision, citing long-term health and development concerns, but nobody ever gave specifics about weight targets or fitness measurements. Her mother pressed for clarity and was met with silence. Eventually, Townsend was cut from USTA funding and support. Refusing to be sidelined, she self-funded her trip to New York. She made it to the quarterfinals in singles and won doubles, showing that her body had nothing to do with her game. Decades later, Townsend holds the WTA world number 1 doubles ranking as of July 2025, with Grand Slam doubles titles at the Australian Open 2025 and Wimbledon 2024. Despite maternity leave and career ups and downs, she rebounded and became one of the sport's most resilient, authentic voices. Her reversal of fortune at the 2025 US Open was remarkable, after upsetting world number pre-video 5 Mira Andreeva in under 90 minutes to reach the 4th round, including a tense exchange with Jelena Ostapenko centered around tennis etiquette. Townsend responded with grace and authenticity, transforming criticism into empowerment. When Townsend reflects on her early body shaming, she says, "I was fat and I was black. so they took away my dream. These words, shared in 2021, remain a powerful indictment of systemic bias in the sport. But Townsend's response is equally powerful. I'm just gonna keep doing me. She refuses to be defined by outdated assumptions and bias. Instead, she models resilience, representation, and authenticity, showing us that true greatness isn't just about winning titles, but about owning your narrative. Why did women champions get smaller trophies than men? You'd think ending a Grand Slam by holding a trophy would feel equally grand for everyone, not just height-wise, but in meaning. That's not how it's always been. Let's rewind to 1987 when USTA began giving replica trophies to US Open winners. For years, women received a diminutive 12-inch keepsake, while men took home a full 19.5-inch trophy, a glaring symbolic gap. It wasn't until 202350 years after Billie Jean King's fight for equal prize money that the USTA finally gave women the same size replicas as men. Coco Gauff, upon winning that year, was genuinely surprised. I just assumed that Roland Garros would be the same. USTA tournament director Stacey Alaster explained that instead of redesigning the historic trophies, they simply had Tiffany & Company match the replica sizes as a clear gesture of equality. Billie Jean King herself praised the change. It sends very positive messaging that we matter just as much, our trophies just as big. But inequality in trophies isn't unique to the US Open. Let's go global. At Wimbledon, men receive a silver gilt cup standing about 18.5 inches tall, while women are presented with the iconic 18.75-inch Venus rosewater dish, a beautiful ornamental salver, but still a tray, not a cup. The difference traces back to 19th century gender roles. Women were symbolically tied to domesticity. The rosewater dish, first awarded in 1886, reflects those outdated expectations. Over time, prize money became more equitable, largely due to pioneers like Venus Williams demanding change. Wimbledon and the French Open staggered, equal payouts didn't arrive until 2007. At the Madrid Open, sexism reared its head in other subtle ways. In one year, the women's doubles finalists were denied the chance to give post-match speeches. Meanwhile, male players received grand celebrations, cakes, crowds, primetime praise. Female players, insiders say, felt treated like second-class citizens. So yes, for a long time, the trophies themselves spoke volumes. The unequal statuettes didn't just reflect a size difference, they amplified messages of inequality. These days, fans and players alike demand more than just equal pay, they want equal recognition, representation, and respect. Djokovic and players sue tennis tours. Are they really just a cartel? Tennis isn't just known for its drama on the court, it now has a courtroom subplot too. Imagine the sport's biggest names saying, "Enough," and actually taking action. That's exactly what happened in 2025 when the players, led by Novak Djokovic and Vasek Pospisil, sued the major tennis governing bodies, including the ATP, WTA, ITF, and ITIA, calling them out for running what they described as a cartel. In March 2025, the Professional Tennis Players Association, PTPA, filed a lawsuit in New York. They accused these bodies of exploiting players with low pay, draconian ranking rules, and unsafe scheduling. They argued this system forced players, many of whom compete in extreme heat or late-night matches, into physical and financial risk without fair compensation. The lawsuit even claimed players' privacy was violated through random drug testing protocols. Pospisil called it a call to save tennis for future players and fans. The ATP fired back, accusing the PTPA of causing division and distraction, arguing that they would vigorously defend their position. The WTA echoed this, saying that players receive substantial financial rewards and have representation within the board. Despite the pushback, this legal move marked a seismic shift. For the first time, players formally challenged the power structures governing their sport. This lawsuit isn't just symbolic, it underscores long-standing frustrations. Players have been vocal about skyrocketing travel costs, endless early-round matches in extreme conditions, and opaque scheduling decisions, all while striving to earn livelihoods. The PTPA's stance reflects a growing movement for player empowerment across sports. Fans and analysts are watching closely. If successful, this lawsuit could reshape the sport's DNA, altering prize distribution, tournament structure, and overall fairness. But it's also a big gamble. Beaming the sport's internal tensions onto a public legal battlefield risks disrupting goodwill among fans and officials. So there's your latest flashpoint, not about cheating or meltdowns, but a systemic showdown where players demand more than applause. They're fighting for fairness, transparency, and respect. And, honestly, that might matter even more than rackets or trophies. That's another wild chapter from tennis history, but there's plenty more where that came from. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and don't miss the next video on screen. It's packed with stories you won't believe.